My history with the Cantina started at the very beginning of Star Wars toys. This was well after the whole early bird special thing, which I completely missed out on in 1977. So I was all about the 1978 Christmas season, and in typical 1970s childhood fashion, my list to Santa started with the Sears Wish Book, 618 pages of disco-era consumerism. Pictures don't do the book justice, not to mention the book seemed even larger, relatively speaking, to my 6-year-old eyes. Look, I'm not complaining. I literally got every Star Wars toy on this page that year, including the Death Star. However, what I did not get was the Cantina Adventure Set, which was a Sears exclusive. You have to understand that at 6 years old, I had no concept of store exclusives. When I saw these toys in the Wish Book, I assumed that these toys could be obtained anywhere toys were sold, particularly the mecca of toys, Toys R Us. Sadly, that was not the case. Eventually, later that year, I did obtain the smaller red Snaggletooth, but I tragically had my whole family searching all over for what I assumed was a carded, standalone, taller blue Snaggletooth. Now, decades later, my blue Snaggletooth quest is complete, to my satisfaction, thanks to Stan Solo. And since Hasbro decided to recreate the cardboard display in their vintage collection, I finally have that too. Like the original, it's a very cheaply produced cardboard backdrop, though unlike the original, which featured foot pegs for displaying 11 figures, which tore up the cardboard over time and got lost, the Hasbro Repro is just printed cardboard. The artwork is cool with footprints and sandcrawler treads, which foreshadowed the Land of the Jawa playset, a story for a future video. So about this blue Snaggletooth. The origin is shrouded in speculation, but I can say with certainty that the subsequent red Snag was carded with artwork of Zutton from the Star Wars Holiday Special, which would make it one of only 2 figures released in relation to that special, from a certain point of view. This makes sense since the figure and the holiday special were both released in 1978, but I remember a very long delay in availability of the figure, which just compounded my Snaggletooth hunt. It was the last figure of the line I got, and that was later in 1979. For $8.77, a cardboard display including 4 action figures is less than you can get a single carded figure these days. So instead of doing something smart, because we all know Hasbro has the marketing sense of a kid with a lemonade stand, Hasbro decided to release their TVC Cantina Adventure Set not with the 4 figures in the retro line, but rather repaints of their current TVC versions. They did release a retro Walrus Man, but they tied it up in a 6-pack and made it a Target exclusive, because of course they did. On the plus side, that multi-pack did include a retro-style Dr. Evazan, which Kenner never produced. But on the downside, typical of Target exclusives, the rollout was completely botched, and I almost was unable to obtain these figures. Though 6-year-old Troy would be proud of me. So I'm not really sure I want to open these repainted TVC figures. If I'm going to display modern TVC, they may as well be the more screen-accurate versions. And if I'm going to do that, then why bother with the cheap cardboard backdrop? Instead, why not upgrade the backdrop as well? This 3D print reimagines the backdrop of the cardboard display in sharp detail. No reason to represent the painted stormtroopers in Garandan as part of the backdrop when you can represent these figures in their own right. So then, what about this droid? I opted for the Sears Cantina Droid model kit from Trash Compactor Toys. I call him SRS-78. And if you caught the retro-style Garandan, that's a Stan Solo too. While the 1978 Sears exclusive just gave us a cardboard exterior to the Cantina, 1979 gave us an interior look at the Cantina with Kenner's Creature Cantina action playset. While it was pretty small overall as playsets go, it was packed with action features. The doors that swung open and 2 points of interaction allowed you to reenact the 2 dramatic action sequences from the film. It was released alongside the Land of the Jawa playset. Again, I am going to do a video about that one in the future. the radio-controlled Jawa Sandcrawler, the Patrol Dewback, the Imperial Troop Transport, the Droid Factory playset, Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, and the Millennium Falcon. I may cover some of those in the future too. This playset was only released in 1979. But let's take a quick step back to 1978 and take a closer look at that Snaggletooth. Not that blue Sears exclusive again, but that red one. Remember when I said that it was this year the figure was released, but was hard to find until, well, for me, Christmas of 1979? I don't know for sure, but I believe that it was because Snaggletooth was originally meant to be marketed in a line of Star Wars holiday special figures that never actually happened. That isn't just empty speculation. There are some clues that make it seem very probable. Let me start by establishing that Kenner was, indeed, planning a line of holiday special figures. There were prototype figures of Itchy, Lumpy, and Mala. The Boba Fett early mail-away offer came with an insert that read that Boba Fett was, quote, a fearsome intergalactic bounty hunter who was introduced in the November 1978 Star Wars television special, A Wookiee Holiday, close quote. Yes, bonus fact, the Star Wars holiday special was officially subtitled A Wookiee Holiday. But that holiday special wasn't exactly well received. It would be decades before Lucasfilm again created television content for Star Wars that would be as reviled. So the marketing was scrapped. The connection of Boba Fett to the show was never again directly mentioned in marketing, and while some figures made it to market on Star Wars cards, there weren't many, with the majority being released on Empire Strikes Back cards, which to most consumers made sense since that was the film they first saw him in. And then there's Snaggletooth. Look at this card. That character, that background, those are not from Star Wars, the film some of you kids refer to as A New Hope. This is a scene from the holiday special. Take a close look at that archway behind him. That's from Akmina's Cantina in the holiday special, not Chalmun's from Star Wars. Yes, I know that the official canon, at least those that even acknowledge Akmina, insist these two locations are one and the same, but they absolutely are not. If I end up doing a third part on this Cantina retrospective, I'll steelman my argument on this. The important point is that character, the one Akmina refers to as is sitting on a stool in front of that archway at the bar. And there weren't any stools around the bar in Chalmun's, but I digress. That Snivian that Kenner called Snaggletooth is Zutmore. The two Snivian seen in Chalmun's were Takeel and Zutton, and every one of them wore red in their appearance on screen. There was no blue-clad Snivian until the Disney animated series, and that was clearly meant to homage the erroneous Sears exclusive. And so, given that this Zutmore is absolutely a character unique to the holiday special, and that the Cantina from the holiday special is a completely different location, I did what I always do. I went down the rabbit hole of obsession and, realizing that I wanted the figures and playsets that didn't exist, I started making them myself. Now this is a video specifically about the Cantina, so we're going to put Itchy, Lumpy, Mala aside, along with all the other holiday special characters, and focus on just the characters of Akmina's Cantina. There is some overlap in characters between the holiday special and the original film, including, as they were named by Kenner, Greedo, Walrus Man, and Hammerhead. While the same props and costumes were used for these characters, and the Hammerhead alien could very well be the same character, it's impossible that poor Greedo and Pondo Baba are the same Rodian and Aqualish we see at Akmina's. No, in fact, the Rodian is clearly named Bloodlow, and the Aqualish is sporting that sucker fin variety of hand that Hasbro likes to now offer as swappable options. But there are a whole host of characters unique to the holiday special, including the bouncer Torque, the Catman Miar-Ro, Ket Melis, and of course the lovesick Krellman. So I've turned to Funky Maclunkey to fill out these unique characters. Link in the description. I'm also going to link to a parody video I did a number of years ago that riffs on the Boba Fett mail-away offer in favor of an imagined Ackmina figure. And so I've also begun crafting Ackmina's Cantina. I say begun because it's very much a work in progress. Eventually, I hope to make that gated arch behind Zutmore into a functional door, and you may not be able to see that there are little colored gems representing the wall lights, and I could easily install actual lights. The entryway is incomplete. The view screen is, at least for now, just a sticker. It's a work in progress. But how many people do you know that have a Star Wars Holiday Special Cantina? Okay, the number isn't 0, but still. And while I'd love to go into greater detail here, this video is already too long. If you'd like me to do a deeper dive on why Ackmina's Cantina is demonstrably not Chalmun's Cantina, let me know in the comments and I'll revisit the diorama playset when I have it more complete.